Happened in the 90s.
Matt was the fat kid, Steve was the black kid. Life wasn't always great, but you know what was? The 90s. Happened in the 90s. Yeah!
Dateline Friday, you've heard the story. Her little girl's taken by her ex-husband.
I think he took the girls just because he was so mad at me.
But when he was caught 19 years later, they stayed by his side. Could she ever get them back?
I don't think I do have any control over what happens next.
Now, Jane Fawley has the exclusive interview. Dateline Friday at a special time, 8/7 Central.
So the other day, I had a come to Jesus moment with another content creator online, man.
Really? You cheated
Yeah.
on me, dude?
No, nothing of that sort. So a while back, and even on our show, man, we talked about Scott Weiland. He got picked up for picking up some dog, some brown bag, and I made a post. I made a meme about it. Yeah, allegedly. And I made a post about it on Instagram, and a person whose account is kind of like dedicated to a lot of Scott Weiland stuff said, like, basically saying this was classless. You're posting stuff like this for likes. What about his children? And my defense, I said, it's kind of public knowledge. Everyone knew that he had those issues, and we here at Happened in the 90s are actually fans of Scott Weiland and his work, and I'm sure his family, his children were aware of that. But then at the same time, it became a back and forth. And before I got petty and put the petty pants on, I thought, man, I smoked about it first.
Please, thank you.
like,
I'd
dude,
like to hear that.
you know
That's
what?
healthy. That's good mental health.
He's got a point. He actually has a point. And I deleted the post, and it made me more cognizant of what we post on social media, what I post on social media.
Okay.
Because you know what? I don't even think about it. It's something that I don't register. I just go down the decade and see, like, okay, this is relevant. People might care about this. It's Scott Weiland. I didn't think about it like, oh man, do people want to be reminded of that? Even if his kids don't follow us, we could pop up in the algorithm from time to time, or a Stone Temple Pilots fan, like they don't need to see that. Like, so, and as a fan of Scott Weiland, I'm being more thoughtful, just and fans of the people that we cover here on the show, man.
Okay.
And let this be a lesson to all the content creators on the internet streets and podcasters. I know it's a knee-jerk reaction to just get petty and throw disses and slurs and your mom's stupid and ugly and crazy. Yeah, but what does it get you? And in this instance, man, I actually sat down before I responded for like the fifth time. Man, he does have a point. And to piggyback on that, man, we earned a new follower, and we followed them back. And I did notice that they haven't liked shit since they started following us, but it's all good. We give grace. Yes.
Well, I understand where that person was coming from, and I understand exactly what you said. And I actually, especially in this one specific case, definitely agree with everything that you just said. I will say, to play devil's advocate a little bit, is that we are basically a historical podcast. We're sort of detailing things that happened back in the day, and we have to be accurate about it as much as possible. So, should we post what you said? Maybe not. But in terms of just like the overall, like what we discuss, we are discussing things that happened, and we don't want to like change the facts. So in that regard, I would say, are we a comedy podcast? Yes, but we're also doing like history as well. So if it's bad facts, that's unfortunate, but we got to detail history sometimes, Steve.
It becomes a judgment call. And I just feel like in this instance, man, it wasn't a Scott Weiland album release. It's not a movie he came out in. Like, do we want to really, I want us to be like more looked at as that. And like, I felt like that was kind of a slant on our,
well, I wouldn't appreciate it if somebody, whatever is like 30-year anniversary of me getting busted with a bowl in Bromfield, I wouldn't appreciate that. I've grown.
Exactly.
A little.
Exactly, man.
A little, but
Epic proportions.
I appreciate what you said. And I, as the guy who's really solely responsible for our social media, 99.9% of it, I'm glad that you're thinking like that instead of knee jerk reacting, throwing a barrage of stuff at somebody, which, sometimes somebody needs that, Steve. Somebody needs a wake up call, but sounds like you got a good head on your shoulders here, and I support that. So let that be a lesson to everyone out there.
Yeah, man. We share this internet. It's both ours.
Yeah, man. We're just trying to make this place, the world a better place.
And we have a reoccurring guest again, Matt. He spun the block. He spun the block,
I mean,
and he's back 1 week later. It's Cat Cornell, and he's here to perform his song. Meow,
motherfucker has
meow,
a
meow.
residency on the show now, Steve. Is that what's going on?
Well, he was in Decatur last Tuesday, so he's like,
Okay,
"Hey,
nice.
yeah, I don't have to be in Montgomery until next Thursday, so yeah,
Cat
got some
Cornell.
time."
Well, welcome back, Cat Cornell. Where's he at, Steve? Where is he?
Yeah, he's sitting on my bed right now.
Oh, okay. What's up,
All right,
Cat?
all right.
Ah!
Yeah.
Oh,
Meow,
Cat.
meow, meow. Meow, meow, meow. Meow, 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 meow. Meow, meow, meow. Meow, meow, meow. Meow, 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 meow. Meow, meow, meow. Meow, meow, meow. Meow, 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 meow. Meow, meow, meow. Meow, meow, meow.
Meow, meow,
Meow, meow,
meow.
meow.
Black
Meow,
hole
meow,
sun! Black
meow.
hole sun! Wow. I actually caught the spirit on that one, Cat. So salutation. Oh, whoa.
Yeah. And he came back and he did this as a favor for me, man. He really likes your shirts. He thinks you wear cool t-shirts too, man. He's like, tell
Oh,
that
wow.
Matt guy, yeah, he's got some drip. Yeah.
All it takes, man. Almost 40, still wearing graphic t-shirts about things that are 30 years old. And if you want to call that drip, Steve, thank you. I appreciate it.
And eventually Cat Cobain, he will show up, man, as promised. Just got to get him out of that shed.
Well, I welcome all cats. I wish we could get like some canine contingents going, but they're a feisty bunch.
They're feisty, but they're also in heavy demand. You
Yeah,
know,
I get it.
Letterman, man, he just got that Netflix shit going on, man, and he's got most of the dogs who go to him. Conan, he's still out here in these streets, so like it's either Dave or Conan, man. So I can't blame him. So we get the runts of the litter, but they're notable names. You may have seen them. They're like Troy McClure's of dogs. We
Yeah,
can get
hell
them
yeah. Yeah.
before the end of this summer. We'll get some dogs that you heard of. Yeah,
Row, row, row. Row, row.
present, man. Shout out to Benji and them.
Hell yeah, Airbud, what's up?
Way
Cross
to
you
kill my
up.
dog.
People cruise one another. They make eye contact. They deliver various signals that implies that they're interested in sexual activity.
And our hidden eye camera found it doesn't end there. It's an undercover I-Team investigation about sex in public restrooms. It's an exclusive story every parent should see. It's live at 11 tonight on the Night Beat.
Well, it's all over now. The final episode, the much-hyped episode of the Seinfeld show. Fans say it was funny, but was it funny enough to make it into the annals of history? A live report.
Well, hey, boys and girls, this is Steve G and Matt G with Happened in the 90s, a show where we talk about what happened in the 90s. So get out your Pete Rock and CO Smooth and apple juice bubblegum. Cause I felt the hate rise up in me, kneel down and clear the stone of leaves. I wander where you can see, inside my shell I wait and bleed. I felt the hate rise up in me, kneel down and clear the stone of leaves. I wander where you can see, inside my shell I wait and bleed. Get out of my.
Wow. Damn, add it to the list, Steve. And welcome everybody to episode, what is this now, Steve? 126?
1176.
Nice, 90. Dindy. Hashtag Dindy. Steve, how you feeling after that Cat Cornell, the whole shebang? Is he gone? Does he just vacate? Does he just go out after this and like, get some catnip, party?
Yeah, he's getting party favors.
Nice.
Man, you see him off that catnip, man. It is
Oh
litty
shit.
committee with these kitties.
Meow
Whoa.
meow meow meow
Meow,
meow.
meow, meow,
Steve.
meow, meow.
Mm.
Wow.
Oh. There you go. I mean, that's a deep cut, Steve Matt G. Connect the Nittany Lion roar, Steve. I mean, actually, now that I think about it, it's been pretty feline centric since the get go. You've been doing that since the jump.
Snap that pussy back. Well, today, my friend, we're talking about all things June 29th. In the 90s. Starting off in 1990, Ghost Dad premieres. A widowed father tries to support his children after he becomes a ghost in an accident. Directed by Sidney Poitier, starring Bill Cosby, Kimberly Russell, Denise Nicholas, and Ian Bannon. In that,
Great VHS cover. I remember loving the VHS cover, Steve, but I don't think this movie's aged well, and I don't really remember much about it. I could do a funny
great.
impersonation, but
Oh, consider yourself lucky, my friend, because this movie I watched for the first time since second grade, and it inspired me to get back into the writing, get back to my pen and pad days. And I don't know if this qualifies as a haiku because I fell asleep a lot in English, but
okay.
it's called "This Dumb Fucking Movie" by Stephen Garrett. Was Sidney Poitier as drunk as that Samoan girl Ruthie when he directed this dumb fucking movie? Did Universal Pictures distribute roofie lace smoothies when they made this dumb fucking movie? Despite Omar being good in it, this was a dumb fucking movie. Cuckoo kaka, poopy fooey, tooey, Bill Cosby, this was a dumb fucking movie. Thank you.
Man, Def Poetry Jam, eat your fucking heart out. I don't know. That wasn't a haiku, Steve, but that was poetry. That was sheer poetry. And shame on you, Bill Cosby, for a lot of things. I guess this is like further down the list than maybe I thought in 1990, but still not a great movie. It's crazy Sidney
But
Poitier directed though. That sucks.
yeah,
You
he
know?
wasn't the first choice. Initially, it was going to be another director, a white guy, and the starring role was going to be Steve Martin. That might have given it a different spin. I don't know. It's Steve Martin and Bill Cosby. Oh, but
I'm gonna make my daughter fall asleep.
get some Robitussin and some NyQuil. The NyQuil to make a little Superman Incredible Hulk. So dude, we just got out of the 80s, man. We're in 1990, and Bill Cosby at this point can sell us anything. He can sell us Jello pudding pops, fucking Fat Albert. So he like
Fat
he
Albert. I like that that's part of it too. He's really going into the obesity lane, Steve, honestly, if you think about it. But I will say, did he sign a deal like the Jordan thing that we saw in that movie Air, but it was with Jello pudding?
possibly, man.
It seems like they
Possibly.
really target. I mean, he was their go-to. I don't think they had anyone else, to be honest. I don't think they had any other
They didn't.
spokespeople.
They didn't need it. They had the guy on the number one sitcom of the 80s. Like, that's all you need. It was just like Mike. Like, Nike could have been like, fuck Barkley, fuck Olajuwon, fuck Stockton Malone. Like, we got him. Jello could have done the same thing. And unlike Ghost Dad, they thought that, hey, he could sell them this shit. And they were wrong.
And they were wrong. Yeah, I mean, that's all I can say. I don't remember really anything but the Cosby Show and whatever subsequent Cosby Show came out being good. A couple of his tapes that my parents had way back in the day, I remember laughing about it, like, because it was it was fun stand-up comedy at the time. But yeah, Ghost Dad, you need to ghost off the shelf, and it probably is. You probably can't even find this motherfucker, Steve. There's a dusty copy on Bill Cosby's shelf someplace.
Yeah,
Hold up.
dude. I mean, it did have the hot chick. She played his daughter, the hot chick from Head of the Class, the one that's not Robin Givens.
Okay, yeah. You put the pill in the pudding and they never even know. Wow. That was terrible, Steve. But yeah, Ghost Dad, can you give it a 0? No. It was made, Sidney Poitier gave his effort to make this movie, so I want to give it at least like give it a 50, Steve. It can't be that bad. Did you finish it?
I finished it. I didn't fall asleep
Okay.
on Ghost Dad.
There you go.
All right. Yeah. Despite the drinks he poured me. But on that same day in 1990, Pinwheel, the very first show to air on Nickelodeon, as well as its Nick Jr. block, is broadcast on the network for the final time.
Man, that dragon, Steve. I think there was a dragon, wasn't there?
You're talking about Eureka's Castle.
God
Pinwheel,
damn. You're right.
Pinwheel predates Eureka's Castle. It aired in 1977, I believe. And Nickelodeon, a lot of people don't know this, originated from Columbus, Ohio, when it was first called Cube, spelled with a Q, Q-U-B-E. And they took on this show. Pinwheel was like its anchor show. And once they went national and became Nickelodeon, Pinwheel still aired until June 29th, 1990.
Pinwheel, going around. Look at the pinwheel and see what I found. So and there was more, but they definitely had that song. It had that fire theme song, which again, that's a thing in the 90s that somebody needs to pinpoint that. The fireness of all theme songs. It doesn't matter what. You were getting full effort on these things, and Pinwheel's still in my fucking head, Steve. So there you go.
It gives the show identity. Someone who probably wasn't watching this final episode of Pinwheel Nickelodeon is probably the Oakland A's Dave Stewart and the Blue Jays and Fernando Valenzuela from the Dodgers, because they both had no hitters. First time there are no hitters in the same day in different leagues, American and national.
There you go. Dave Stewart. But I was going to say, black dude, correct? I remember him being like a stern black dude. Look at that stash, too. That's powerful. The other guy, the Dodgers, who was the guy for the Dodgers?
Fernando Valenzuela. That's Manny Hill. Like he was the guy that won with the Dodgers in the 80s.
Damn, dude. He looks like one of the pitchers, like the pitchers in the movie we're going to talk about. He looks like one of the chuds. He looks like that one Webner. Should start Webner.
Webner? Oh, I know you're talking about. Yeah.
Weird cut. Yeah. But yeah, Dave Stewart, dude. I had a lot of his fucking baseball cards. That's why I can sort of remember him, but I do remember him more for the Blue Jays. I think he won a World Series with them, didn't he?
He's a 3-time World Series champion. He was World Series MVP in '89 with the Athletics. He won the MVP of the ALCS. Roberto Clemente. He is an AL wins leader. Pitched no hitter on this day, and his numbers retired.
I mean, I gotta say also, like, in terms of like being a baseball fan in the 80s and 90s, like I was, like, you know, late 80s, early 90s, you could really do way. I'm trying to say this right. The Oakland A's, I mean, if you wanted to pick a favorite team just because of like badass dudes, they were really killing it for a while. Canseco, McGuire, Ricky Henderson, I believe, was on that. They had that dude with the crazy like hair with the stash.
Dennis Eckersley.
He looked like white trash, but he was killing it. I mean,
we'll talk about him a little later.
Nice. Dennis X. Well, I'm going to shut the fuck up, Steve. Let you keep going because you're a professional.
Well, shout out to Manny and Dave Stewart. Somebody who wasn't privy to any of this shit because he wasn't born yet is American basketball player Kawhi Leonard, or as I like to call him, the last man of cornrows.
He's it. He's the last one. They're gonna make it's like the Last of Mohican sequel. Damn, but they're fire, dude. They're tight. They're nice.
Hey man, who was the guy? The strength is in the hair. Was that?
Oh man, don't make me try. I know who you're talking about, and I just referenced this, but fuck me, Steve. Fuck you.
Marijuana affects the memory.
Who is it?
Well, I was gonna say Lazarus, but anyway, anywho, this two-time NBA champion, two-time NBA Finals MVP, he gets a pass. And I would say when Latrell Sprewell cut his, Allen Iverson cut his, D'Angelo and Slim Thug, and even Ludacris cut theirs, it's time to retire these. This was a thing of the 2000s, but no, Kawhi Leonard, he gets a pass because he is a two-time NBA champ in two different fucking conferences.
That person was Samson. I'm sorry. I had to say it,
Samson.
Steve. Samson.
Thank you.
I didn't know that these were on the way out. I mean, Allen Iverson, obviously, he was killing the game with them. Fucking, like you said, a Slim Thug who I love. Still, shout out Slim Thug. Love you. Yeah, man, as a white guy who's not going to ever have these in my hair, didn't know they were on the way out. But, I mean, the guy's rich as fuck, but them shits, he's doing it right if he's the last one, Steve.
It's like the last of Mohicans, man.
It's perfect. That's the sequel. That's the sequel we're gonna make. I don't know if anybody wants it, but Kawhi, if we can get the contract and the money and we can make this happen.
The last man of cornrows. James Earl Jones, you ain't 1992, The Grind debuts on MTV, hosted by Eric Nies. Remember this one, Matthew?
Oh shit, The Grind. Steve, I remember some hotties on it.
Yeah, I'm in college. Yeah, you're like funny.
Do you want me to just get a crop top on and just fucking grind on something? I mean, that's the guy I remember. Hold on, Steve. I got a goddamn hornet in my room. I just gotta kill this thing real quick. Let me just put it on pause. I'll be okay, everybody.
And they aired over 1,000 episodes of this show.
I mean, you know, Soul Train was a thing back in the day, and I think that's just because TV was so new that they didn't know what to put on it. So people dancing seemed like a great idea, but I can't dance. Like Phil Collins said, I really can't dance. So it was never really exciting to me as a fat kid to watch people, other than seeing some hotties, which I did appreciate, but I never really understood the concept of just like dance TV. You know, maybe other than to showcase some songs, but other than that, and some hotties.
Well, it was MTV's version of Soul Train.
I mean, it's the grind. I like that they called it that. They're just like, yeah, let's really just set it in. This is gonna be a sexual decade, y'all. Grind it out. It's gonna get real nasty up in here.
Everybody danced like Alex Wright, the Wonder Kid.
Yeah, dude. I mean, that's really like most of the white people on it, like the dudes, they were doing that. I mean, dude, you don't fucking fuck with Das Wunderkind.
Das Wunderkind.
I mean,
fucking Dolph Lundgren's nephew. Somebody who probably didn't watch the debut of The Grind on MTV is probably Oakland A's Dennis Eckersley. Speaking of the devil, he set the record of 26 straight save of the season.
This guy was I played for the Perrysburg youth Oakland A's, Steve, in the 90s. I was a awesome first baseman. Never had the balls to be a Dennis Eckersley pitcher type. But look at this guy. In terms of just like vintage white trash excellence.
Yeah.
Co-signed to the 90s. You can't do any better than this. I love Dennis Eckersley. I can't say his name correctly today for whatever reason. But
erroneously.
How's Dennis doing now? Is the ex fucking Dennis Anusley? How's he doing? Dennis X?
I do know his post-career days, man. He spent some time as a commentator. He might still be a commentator. He was one of the cover guys for the Boston Red Sox, if I'm not mistaken, on the Nesson network. And I only know that from my time with Fox Sports. You know, you would see some of the older guys pick up jobs as commentators, man. So shout out to him and that mustache. The A's at this time, they had some killers, man. They had the Bash brothers, and they were probably juicing back then, man. But they were knocking them out.
Hell yeah, dude.
They had Ricky Henderson, and they had great pitching.
Hen dog, dude. People, I mean, we even get a shout out to Ricky Henderson in a movie we're going to talk about, but Ricky Henderson, one of the fastest men in baseball I can ever remember from back in the day, could steal a base, probably steal your girl after the game too, And I think Ricky Henderson famously was one of the first people publicly to speak about himself in the third person. Ricky Henderson
Ricky,
gonna need a drink soon because
get that,
Ricky thirsty.
get Ricky a drink. Hey,
I
he's earned that
agree.
right. But in 1993, various artists released Poetic Justice soundtrack, and this is a soundtrack in a great soundtrack era. Every song is just fire from the top names of that day.
I mean, this was a movie. This is a '90s classic. I'm sure I don't remember specifically all of what was on like the soundtrack, but I'm assuming we get some Janet. I'm assuming we get some Tupac. I hope.
No Janet, but you do get Tupac. You get Stevie Wonder. You get Nice and Smooth. You get Pete Rock and CL Smooth. Naughty by Nature. Tony Tone.
Ooh,
You got Usher, Young Usher, Raymond, Babyface, and Warren G and Nate Dogg and
okay.
TLC.
Okay. Well, you throwing Warren G and Nate Dogg in the mix. I'm in, Steve.
And the song they do on there is called Indo Smoke. I remember this from it was used in a skit on Doggy Style. It's playing in the background. Me and Mr. G with the Indo Smoke. Ain't nothing they says, ain't nothing but the Indo Smoke.
Okay.
Ah,
Oh yeah, dude.
yeah, yeah.
Where'd you get that one?
Yeah, this shit go. Yeah.
Dude, I love, dude. But you're right. That's one thing. I mean, I don't know if that's still a thing really, but if you put a movie out at all, the soundtrack could make it more popular. And I mean, I'm sure, like think about like Friday, that soundtrack. I mean, that shit was just anything.
That's a
Any
collision of both worlds, man. Because the movie was fire and the soundtrack was like
God.
it just hell yeah, exactly, man.
Yeah. So I don't
Um,
know why they don't still do that because I feel like that was half of the reason I think
it's
like a lot of people popped off huge back then, but maybe it's just because it's just a different world. People get their shit out differently.
it just don't hit the same like it used to. That's why we're doing the whole decade's worth.
Mm.
But in 1994, I Love Trouble premieres. Peter Brackett and Sabrina Peterson are two competing Chicago newspaper reporters who join forces to unravel the mystery behind a trail derangement. Directed by Charles Shire, starring Julia Roberts, Nick Nolte, Saul Rubinek, Robert Loggia, and James Redhorn.
The Loge.
The Loge.
Um, I don't. I remember this like I remember this premise. I don't remember any of the plot, but I know this was like probably a pretty popular movie. It had Julia in it, and Nick Nolte, so it
Yeah,
probably.
and they hated each other. They could not stand each other. They did not get
God
along.
damn it, Julia. You fucking fucked my goddamn lines up. God damn it.
Eventually, we are going to start calling this the Nick Nolte Hour because we've covered this man
I mean,
like quite often
I mean,
recently,
he's
and
a
it's like,
fucking legend, though. He was killing in the
yeah,
'90s, so you can't help it, Steve.
but they're movies I don't care about, and this is one of them. And Nick Nolte, he said that she is like one of the worst, man, and Robert said the same about him.
Well,
Like they were,
I feel like everybody in the '90s was just like amped up. They were coked up. Nick
uh,
Nolte was juiced to the gills on whatever, still from the '80s, probably. Loja, he's all pissed off because Nolte's took all his stash, and Julia Roberts, she's just a sweet little young lady that's just trying to make it in Hollywood. And I feel like probably Nick Nolte's a little abrasive, and he's probably going to leave a little bit of a bad taste in your mouth. Pause. Not in that way, but is this a memorable movie? No. But
uh-uh.
Nolte, I bet he don't remember shit about it either, Steve.
Yeah, I love trouble sometimes, but I also hate wasting my time. 1994, Little Big League premieres. A young boy is bequeathed the ownership of a professional baseball team, directed by Andrew Scheinman, starring Luke Edwards, Timothy Busfield, John Ashton, Ashley Crowe, Kevin Dunn, and Jason Robards.
And an assortment of major league stars at the time, or a couple, but
On the rise, at least.
Steve, I don't know how much you clock this. I've mentioned this movie a lot just because it follows in the '90s absolute bonkers plot lines that just made it to air. This is to me is on the level of a blank check, but less danger to the kid, you know.
and they both happen around the same time. And like,
Yeah.
I was actually thinking that was the first movie that came to mind when you said that, man. Blank Check. This is also an era of just asinine storylines centered around kids, and because it's centered around kids, targeted to kids, it doesn't have to make sense.
No.
Just create this world that they can buy into.
But when you add in people that have to, like adults that are acting in this movie, and they make it a pretty like serious, it's not like comical in any way. Like they make that part of it a little bit serious, and it's funny because in real life, if an adult was pointed, like a professional athlete was like, "Hey, your owner and coach is now a young child." Um, I don't think it's going to go the way we see it go down in this movie. In a lot of ways, Steve. I don't even know the legalities of what we see in this era, but man, I love this shit. They were producing a lot of baseball related shit in the 90s, especially in this time, because predating this, the year previous, we got Sandlot, we got Rookie of the Year, which is, you know, we get a lot of the same shit in that we get in this, but it's not a player, it's a coach and a like an owner, you know. So I feel like somebody watched Rookie of the Year and was like, we're gonna do that.
Angels in the Outfield.
Yeah, I didn't even look up that one, but that was probably 94, 93 too, if I remember correctly.
Around that time. Yeah.
And I mean, baseball's the thing, man. It's not like now I feel like it should be football. But I remember this movie. I always, even as a kid, this movie made me laugh my ass off because of it's a kid being put in all these adult situations that are not fun, you know?
And he's still being a kid, which I appreciate. Like, you know, he's going to conferences for a baseball team, but at the same time, he's going to like grade school, and you know, he's got a bike at the bike rack with his buddies.
He's got his buddies. He's just hanging out. This movie starts off, and this kid is living really a great life. We see this kid, it's like a suburban neighborhood, it's a little league game. Billy is the main character, and Billy is not great at actually playing baseball, but in this opening scene where we see that part of it, we get introduced to his family, his grandfather and mother, who are main characters in this. But we do see a celebrity, Steve, that I don't know if you clocked this, but Jeff Garlin makes a real quick appearance in the beginning of this.
He's one of the coaches.
Yeah, he's the other team's coach. And in this scene, we see a couple of things. We see that Billy has some sort of Rain Man-like knowledge of baseball history and the rules. So he's like an expert that even the umpire depends on, which is weird.
Because he doesn't know how to do his job. So he refers to a 12-year-old. Actually, all the adults on the baseball diamond refer to this 12-year-old for all things baseball related. What are you guys doing here?
Yeah, I mean, guys, at least the umpire should have a couple of things, but Billy knows a lot. His mother and his grandfather, very supportive. His grandfather, we find out, actually does own the Minnesota Twins. So this kid has got it made. His grandfather loves him. They're best buddies, which I love. I didn't have this with my grandfather. It wasn't the same thing. But free tickets, fucking free reign of Twin Stadium. His father, unfortunately, is dead. His father was the son of the grandfather, and his mother, the widow, is still around. And everyone has this great relationship, you know?
And she looks like Craig T. Nelson's wife on Coach.
She does. She has that white lady perm with the blonde hair, and you know, somebody like that. But you know, Billy also has a couple of buddies. I don't remember their names. One's got a lot of fucking freckles. The other one looks like a broke ass Jonathan Taylor Thomas. And you know, they're cool too. Everyone's just having a great time, Steve.
And this is also, all of this is unrealistic, but the fact that like he only kicks it with them, like if now, you know, in Perrysburg or any school, if one of the students owned a Major League Baseball team, everybody would be on their dick.
I mean, yes. I mean, even before what happens, they would be all over it. Oh, Twins? You're in Minnesota, Steve. There ain't jack shit else other than the Twins and the Timberwolves. Okay? If it's not that, that's it, you know?
Yeah.
So
Prince.
exact. Well, obviously, but I'm saying like go to events, regularly. That's all you got, especially back then.
Yeah.
Billy is, pretty cool, seems like, but he's got a lot going for him. As we go through this movie, we see that him and his grandfather have this really close relationship. They are like best buddies, and you know, he knows the twins. We meet this guy Lou, who's like a vet on the team, who's like was picked by the grandfather and has been with the twins the whole time, and it's like sort of a whatever. He's a mensch. He's part of the group. Billy knows him. Whatever. So we go
He's
through
like the
it.
Tom Berenger character, the veteran guy.
Yeah,
He's like
he's wily. He's respected. He's getting old though. He's getting old in the tooth, but that he's there, and he's somebody that Billy knows and that his mom knows. But as this movie progresses, unfortunately, Gramps, he's out, and we get a video will, which I always thought this. I love this, and I love that they put the videotape in. Gramps taped over a Bulls game, and I love that. We get a little Marv Albert shot right there before the will comes on. It's like, oh, he's on fire, yes! And then, and lo and behold, and again, I don't know what the legalities of this are. This is the man's last will and testament. He gives the Twins ownership, the team, the whole shebang to Billy, his best friend.
From 6 feet under.
Yes, he's on fire. I always thought, even back then, I was like, wouldn't it be funny if there was just like a raunchy like porno that came on, like it was a Bulls game, then this, and then he forgot. There was just something crazy at the end of it. And
that actually happened with my grandpa. Sidetrack Sally.
That happened to me too, Steve. You first.
I had never seen Any Given Sunday at this point. My grandpa had it recorded on a VHS tape. It's me, my grandpa, my uncle. And so the beginning of Any Given Sunday plays, and then we see titties. Like, is this a part? The production value of this just changed all of a sudden. I don't think this is Any Given Sunday.
Bobby, you gotta, it's every inch. It's every goddamn inch.
And it wasn't my tape this time. Hey.
Okay, so you caught your Gramps up then. Your Gramps was doing some slick sly shit. I like that, but here's what happened to me, Steve. I taped SNLs every once in a while when I, wanted to watch the guests. I didn't stay up late. I had to go to church, believe it or not. I was one of those kids. So tape something. I taped over. I had a lot of tapes, and I had some select tapes, if you know what I'm talking about. Wink. That I tried to keep separate. Well, in this case, I didn't. Taped SNL, went about my business, started up, and my dad's like, hey, I'd love to watch this too. I'm like, oh, cool. Let's watch it. Bink. I rewind it to get it to where it's at. Started up. Unfortunately, the scene that I had taped from some TV like HBO thing of Wild Things, one of the threesome scenes, it was real intense sex. And actually, now that my memory's jogging, this is so deep cut if anyone's ever seen Wild Things. But there is a scene in the beginning of the movie where I think Denise Richards' mom is getting drilled by the pool boy. Little Matt found it hot for whatever reason. But I turned the tape on. I'm thinking Chris Farley SNL comeback. That's what's going to come on. Instead, it's this old lady like, fuck me. And it wasn't even a porno, Steve. It was Wild Things, but my dad didn't appreciate that. I'll tell you that George Leroy, not into that at all. Probably was, but he wasn't into his son doing that.
Of course not.
So
that's for only him.
I was a pervert, but Billy's not a pervert. Neither is his grandfather. His grandfather's a nice guy who died, gave him the twins, and now we have a elementary school kid about to be junior high kid. This kid owns a team, Steve. He owns the fucking team.
He can be the GM. He can be on some Jerry Jones shit. And, a lot of the players, probably all of them, just don't take that lightly, man. Some of them are pretty vocal about it.
Who would? I mean, if you're an adult and you're like, oh, my now livelihood's in the hands of a 12-year-old, I don't know. If I'm a professional athlete, I might be like the one guy McCreevy. I'm gonna be like that dude. Like, man, fuck this little fuck.
And John Ashton, he plays one of the managers, I believe. Is it the pitching coach, maybe?
Yeah, hell yeah. The guy
Yeah,
with the mustache that always has a fucking wet cigar in his mouth. Disgusting.
Sergeant Taggart from Beverly Hills Cop. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, he's there, but everyone supports this. You know, they loved the grandfather was like a loved guy. Everybody, he's like family. Even at the funeral, Lou goes through like this thing, and Lou is just again like a vet, but he even says like this guy was like my best friend also. So this guy, you know, people support the grandpa, but you know, not everybody's on board with this kid owner. So now he's there. He's instilling himself as an owner in the team. And another guy who's a coach who I love, this is a 90s legend, Farina. Farina's like, he's a bad fucking, he's like an angry coach. He's like Dennis Knight.
Cantankerous.
You know, he's just going to throw shit, demean you. And I love the energy of this kid. I mean, this kid's sweet as fuck. Also, just sidetracking Sally again, this kid is the kid from the movie The Wizard that was like a big Nintendo commercial that was made in 1989 with Fred Savage. He's the kid that says California and is, I think, kind of mentally handicapped and is just great at video games. So shout out to The Wizard. I wish we could talk about it. But back to this movie, Steve. This kid's coming in with like a 12-year-old's like ideals, and Farina's yelling at people. He's calling people, you know, shitty, whatever. And Billy walks up and he's like, Coach, you're just yelling at these guys a lot. Maybe we just try not to. And I just love like the energy of these people because this is real energy. They're like, wait, who the fuck are you? They just have that kind of energy, you know, and especially Farina in this.
Yeah, man. And he told that fool to go build a fort. I found that shit funny, like, because he was having this attitude with the kid this whole time. And he was like, well, I mean, there's some other options for you. And then the next scene, you see this motherfucker cleaning out his desk in his whole office.
So now they're coachless. The 12-year-old GM's already made a crucial move in firing the head coach at mid-season. So they're coachless. We find out through the grapevine that there's not a lot of like head coaching candidates that want to work for a 12-year-old. So it's hard to come by. You know, Lasorda's not coming. Obviously, you know, Leland's over there someplace. I don't know where he's at this point. I could keep naming coaches that I can remember, but nobody wants to play for or coach these guys. So you know what Billy does, Steve? You know what he says?
Points.
I know more than
Jerry
anybody.
Jones.
Fuck them. I'm going to do this myself.
I have a power glove.
Yeah, hell yeah.
I can beat Super Mario 3 in one take. So
it's so fucking cool, Steve. And he steers his way right into a coaching job. I love this energy. I love it. And nobody, like, there's not even any discussion. There's an announcement, and MLB, apparently, they're cool with it if his mom's cool with it. I like that kind of handshake deal he's doing with the MLB. He's like, well, as long as your mom's cool with it, who the fuck?
Can I spend a night? Can you go ask her if I could spend a night?
Jesus.
It's that kind of energy.
And you know, like in this climate now, if this, you know, this is never going to happen, Steve. ESPN would be 24-hour, just a cycle of people like, this is insane. This is insanity. This is crazy. Nobody's, you know, people are just excited about it, really, it feels like.
But something that we're completely overlooking that's really crazy about all this shit, Timothy Busfield plays an all-star major league baseball player. Like, this is Poindexter from Revenge of the Nerds, and he doesn't look any different. He didn't like go to the gym for this role. He looks like Timothy Busfield in a Minnesota Twins uniform.
I was like, holy shit, Fergwad's a twin? That's what it looks like, Steve. It looks like Ferguson from Clarissa grew up a little bit and put on a Twins outfit, Steve. Fuck Kirby Puckett. Dude,
who's gonna pull out the violin?
And I love how he's like this vet. We just signed him to a 4-year deal. You signed that to a 4-year deal? Jesus Christ. He looks like he teaches biology or some shit.
This dude is an all-star?
Yeah, I mean, you know, it's the 90s, whatever. Something had to give here. And Lou, he's a nice guy, though. Maybe that's why he's got the contract. But now, not only is Billy making the GM moves, he's a coach. So now he has to walk into a locker room of grown ass men or 20-something-year-old men, whatever you want to call it, vets, and go, hey guys, round it up for a meeting. Like he's trying to do what like Coach does, but he's a 12-year-old, and that's absolutely hilarious, Steve.
Go do your algebra homework, motherfucker. Fuck.
Yeah, and we also need to just say that Lou and Billy's mom. I mean, his mom, Billy's mom, I forget her name, whatever her name is, dying of thirst, Steve. She is a widower. She hasn't had a date or whatever in a decade or whatever she says. This woman, every time she's around Lou, you might as well just see like a spray on Lou's face. He needs like windshield wipers. She's so moist. It's ridiculous.
He's kind of clogged up. Yeah, man. Need some plumbing.
And he can't. He's like, you want to go on a date? It's like this chick just wants you to just throw her into a closet and bang the shit out of her. That's what she really wants, Lou. But he's a nice guy, Steve. So anyway, Billy's now trying to coach grown men. It's not going well immediately. There's a bunch of like prima donnas. There's a guy named McCreevy who's like he looks like a Stetson or like a aftershave cologne model that's playing baseball. I love that.
He's like the Corbin Burnson guy.
Yeah, exactly. Smarmy, white, handsome. Him and a couple other white guys are just like sort of anti-Billy. There's a guy named Blackout who, to me, is just like a fat Rick Vaughn wannabe character. Everybody's just like, okay, they're trying to dismiss this kid, but he actually gets into the games, starts coaching. And it's not going well, Steve. They're taking losses. Some of the people are like ignoring his signs. They're forgetting the coaching, the strategies and whatnot.
And some of them are doing it maliciously, because his thing was, if this fails, if I don't know what I'm doing and we lose, then hey, I'll fire myself. So because of that, and somebody they're already apprehensive about him being the GM and coach and owner. They're like, yeah, if we lose, at least we'll get rid of this kid.
Yeah. So McCreevy most up. There's, I think the catcher is another guy that says that. And he does make that agreement. So they do go forward. They keep losing games. But at some point, Billy does what any good kids movie kid does or coach does. Hey guys, you guys are fucking baseball players, man. You guys should love this. You guys are so lucky. So fuck the bullshit. Fuck the politics. You need to have some fun, guys. You need to have some fun. And then fun
Matt,
montage. Montage.
Yeah. We need some montage is what we need.
Yeah, dude. We gotta keep this movie rolling. So montage it up. Fucking fun times. And through this, then when people start having fun, Steve, it all starts rolling. The catcher starts coming on board. I think he actually sticks up for Billy in like a McCreevy thing. Fucking Jonathan Silverman, who's already like a goofball, like Zen master pitcher. I feel
He's
like
the relief pitcher, yeah.
And he's like, honestly, as far as celebrities go, other than the actual athletes, the biggest celebrity this movie got. But all the people start buying in, and God damn it, Steve, if it wasn't true, you know how you cure a team losing perennially? Have some fun. Take them to Six Flags,
You have a montage again. Yeah, you have another montage. You take them to Six Flags, and Poindexter will try to fuck your mom. Hey, bro, you fuck my mom, I'll put you on the bench.
I mean, that's kind of what happens here, Steve, because we're going to fast forward through this. We don't need to discuss it. Billy actually starts succeeding. Billy gets his team into contention, Steve. And then what happens to Billy? The same thing that happens to a lot of great athletes. Antonio Brown, I'm looking at you right now. Success goes to your head. Billy starts turning into the O'Farrell Farina character. And fuck fun. It's all about winning, Steve. Fuck you,
this interview's over.
Yeah, he storms off on Chris Berman.
Chris Berman,
which I love that.
Yeah,
back. He big dick Chris Berman. And he tries to get Ricky Henderson. Did we get a mention of that? He tries to pull that move. Doesn't happen. he tries to pull a couple of other moves, and another character that I can't remember his name of, James or Jim or the black dude he fires. There's a character he really loves, Steve, but
They
baseball's
had a
business.
bond.
Yeah, the baseball's a business. And at one point, while the team's struggling, they're on the downs. They got to get a hitter, and this guy's dragging the team down. And even though he loves this guy and is trying to make all the excuses not to fire him, we have to have the scene. And this is the scene I remember. This is a scene that forever in my memory makes this movie a classic. Is that this kid sits down in his office. He's a 12-year-old kid. This player comes in. I want to say his name's Jimmy, but whatever his name is,
Jimmy.
Billy fires this dude. And in one of the most dramatic moments of this movie, and one of the most realistic, I feel like, this dude goes off. Billy's like, dude, you're still my favorite character. I have your baseball cards. And this guy's like, yo, fuck that shit, Billy. Am I supposed to tell my wife? Like, and I mean, gets as close. It's like, I'd be crying if I was Billy, Steve. I'd be like, I'm so sorry. Like, people could big dick me into contracts because I'm a pussy. But Billy, I mean, he fires this dude, Steve, straight up. So I guess this kid's got brass balls.
Imagine like Kirby Puckett or Chuck Knobloch, like just yelling at you in your face while you're sitting down, like
just a roided up McGuire, like, what the fuck are you just saying? Like,
yeah, this ain't for me. Yeah, I'm gonna find my replacement immediately.
And wow, all so that happens. But Billy's like, he's evil Billy right now, Steve. And I do like a couple of things that happen. We do get to see couple of other legends. Pudge Rodriguez, who I remember, he's a catcher for the Rangers. We see him for a second, but we also get a nice Rafael Palmeiro cameo. And if you want to talk stashes, there's a classic right there. But in the evil Billy times, Rafael gets witness to Billy cursing out an umpire in a classic moment of this movie as well, which another moment where a kid just completely ignoring the fact he's a kid and just goes full adult on an adult. And I love that.
And I mean, to me, most importantly, we get to see Ken Griffey, like the perennial baseball player of the 90s. We got to see some Randy Johnson, big unit. It's got its cast of all-stars and Hall of Famers.
And I do like that they made Ken Griffey kind of a villain in this, because Ken Griffey and the Seattle Mariners are the last thing to get into the playoffs. And is this a thing, Steve? They get into a 1-game playoff to get into the playoffs with the Mariners. Is this a real thing?
It is in certain circumstances, man. Like if you're tied and they find the tiebreaker, and like it's become more prominent now because they have stuff set up specifically for that, a 1-game tournament deal.
Well, Ken Griffey's like the villain, and he comes up. We get to see Ken Griffey hit dingers. And one thing I will say about like the baseball scenes, whenever they have that angle where they show guys like hitting homers, like in it, like them pulling it, it's like sort of behind them. Whatever that shot is, dude, they got good baseball shots in this. So Ken Griffey, him and the Mariners ruined the season for the Twins. They actually kill their season. So it's a happy ending, but it's not that happy of an ending. And I do like that Ken Griffey ruins it all for him because he's that much of a G, Steve.
But they still have their dignity. They lost the game, but they didn't lose the war.
And at the end of it, Steve, Billy, he allows Lou to fuck his mom, marry his mom. They actually get married or proposed to. Billy gives it all up. He doesn't want to be an adult. He wants to hang out with his chud friends and not professional athletes. And I'm sure this will change in a couple of years, but he gives up the coaching reins to the pitching coach with the stogie. He hires the guy he fired, so rehired raise to that old dude that he fired, gives
Dennis
him a
Farina?
job. No, not Farina.
Oh, the baseball player.
Yeah, the baseball player. He hires him as like the third base coach, a coach of some kind, and I love that because Billy's a good guy. And
pretty humble kid.
Yeah, I mean, to be honest with you, Steve, if I did this, you would never, if I'm Billy and walking away and like going back to normal world, you're never going to hear anything else from me. Oh, yeah, let's go to your sleepover, dude. I almost got the fucking Twins into the playoffs, you bitch. Like, you can't one up this kid. He's going to be a fucking piece of shit, probably.
But the cool thing about Billy is he's been pretty humble throughout this. He didn't have like a big ego coming into it. Eventually it went to his head, but that was short-lived. He finally got his come to Jesus moment. And if I was him, I still wouldn't have like removed myself from the team.
I'll be a special like advisor because
that's my paw.
One other thing we do forget about, like we kind of glanced over, when he does want to be a coach and brings us up to like the people in the team, they're like, nah, hell no. And I forget what, I think maybe it is the pitching coach. He's like, give me a fucking situation or whatever. And he like 8D chess these people to prove he knows baseball enough to be a coach. And I love that, Steve. This kid, if nothing else, is going to be some kind of Rain Man of baseball. Like he could definitely be like the facts guy for Dan Patrick or something, if nothing else. But he's a living legend, a child coach. This kid's gonna fuck a lot of chicks in the next few years, and I support that. This kid almost did it, Steve. Sans Kirby Puckett.
And I was shocked when I saw Luke Edwards, the guy that plays Billy. He doesn't have a Wikipedia entry. It's like, man, he was the wizard.
He was the wizard, dude. Like he it's crazy. When that was pointed out, I didn't know that. Kendra pointed that out. I was like, no, because to be honest with you, dude, that movie is dumb. But The Wizard, to me, it's like one of my favorite movies from being a kid because it had it all. It had some acting.
It was fun.
It had the hitters, and you got
Savage
a preview of Super fucking Mario Brothers 3, dude. I love that.
And the Power Glove.
And Christian Slater's, dude. And Beau Bridges.
And also in 1994, Models Inc. debuts on Fox. Models Inc. revolves around a Los Angeles modeling agency run by Hillary Michaels, played by Linda Gray, the mother of Melrose Place's Amanda Woodward, Heather Locklear. The series only lasted one season.
Yeah, nobody wanted it, but what more can I say, Steve? Models Inc. I would love to hang out on the set. But so that is Pam Anderson. She was in this, right? Is that Pam Anderson?
Was she?
She the blonde?
There's no way she could have done double duty.
No. That's not her. That's just some. No. That's a Wish.com Pam.
She got a nice mouth though.
Man, that's get that. Let's cut that out. That's a clip.
She got a nice mouth though. Oh.
I'm not cutting it out. I'm going to use that and just keep replaying it over and over again. It's not bad, Steve. She's got a pretty mouth. You can say that. It's fine.
She's got a nice mouth, though. Very, very attractive woman. All of these ladies, actually.
It's a very basic cast, Steve. I mean, look, the one is that Kourtney Kardashian? Is that the one that really had that looks like her? This doesn't look like something you or I would be into, other than some wank material.
Yeah,
that's awful.
Yeah,
We're awful.
It was served.
She got a nice mouth, though.
For purpose for that, but as somebody who didn't watch this Melrose Place spinoff bullshit is primarily power forward and small forward Glenn Robinson, the first pick by the Milwaukee Bucks in the NBA draft.
I like Glenn. I love the Glenn Robinson. He'll slap you in the fucking face.
The big dog, and I'm guessing that's his father, the bigger dog, Robinson.
Damn. Does his damn hairline connect to his mustache? Is it one of those old schools?
Look, man, this is a throwback black man. You don't get you don't see black men like this anymore. With what's the brother from Sesame Street with that whole look?
Yeah, dude. I mean, that's a you're right. That's a vintage look.
That's vintage black guy.
I can't, vintage black man. There it is. I mean, he definitely. I support anything where you connect the hairline to the facial hair. That's incredible in that way with no chin strap. It's just amazing.
It's very Black Snake Moan.
It looks like, you know what he looks like, Steve? Black Gallagher.
Black Gallagher, bitches.
You know what my favorite video game is? Black Gallagher.
Yeah. And Glenn Robinson, he had a somewhat successful, and by that I mean it lasted more than 5 years. So you know he got some yards out of that career in the NBA, man. But as the first pick, they did kind of pick him over Jason Kidd and a guy named Grant Hill.
Ooh. But also Glenn Robinson, what other teams did he play for? Did he play for the Knicks?
He did not play for the Knicks. His son actually plays in the NBA now. But he played for the Bucks and fuck Mary Kill.
Fuck Mary Kill. Glenn Robinson.
Fuck Mary Kill, man.
Black Gallagher.
Milwaukee Bucks. Pick the big dog. Should have picked Grant Hill. Fuck Mary Kill.
Damn, those are two hitters though. That's tough. I mean, Glenn Robinson's still, like you said. I mean, if you last that long in the NBA, you're still good. Like you made it. You kept it. You just aren't Jason Kidd. You just aren't Grant Hill. So,
and that's just not fair.
No.
But in 1995, American actress Lana Turner passes away, diagnosed with throat cancer, and died of the disease 3 years later, age of 74, Los Angeles.
Old school Hollywood name. Lana Turner. I don't know what exactly she was in, but the name rings a bell.
She was bad.
Yeah, hell yeah. One of those old Hollywood, like, damsels in distress. Lana Turner. That name, for whatever reason, she's in something badass, but can't remember what it is.
Her acting career goes back into the 30s, man. And, you know, I looked at some of the titles. Madam X was one of them. That could also double as a porn name, but she was a lifetime smoker, and she smoked cigarettes on the regular. She was one of those, and made it to the ripe age of 74.
I mean, smoke it if you got it, I guess. But Lana Turner, she was a fucking hottie back in the day, Steve.
Totally.
Pinup model.
Take her to Pound Town. And in 1999, GZA releases Beneath the Surface. And I remember this for the release Breaker Breaker. That was the single release off of this album. And I remember it being played on TRL a couple times. Carson Daly's corny ass introducing it just kind of made it laughable. And now GZA with Breaker Breaker. I'm cool, guys. Right, ladies?
Word up. This is GZA.
Yeah. I'm totally not a tool.
Yeah.
But this album is actually pretty good. The thing that it's lacking is RZA production. He did have collaborations with just about all the guys, man. Method Man, it's got Inspector Deck, it's got Master Killer, even ODB drives by for a cameo. No Ghostface Killer, and you know it's GZA. Like the man is an MC, so he's going to give you great rhymes, man. You know, for me, I miss the Wu-Tang element. When RZA has the heavy hand in the production, it gives me that Wu-Tanginess.
Yeah, hell yeah. Well, when you branch out and you have to go, like, you're not in that, I think there is something to that. Like, why these guys didn't all, like themselves pop off as much as Wu-Tang did. But GZA is a badass, dude. He's a genius, so what are you going to do?
Genius. And that same day in 1999, Drain STH releases Freaks of Nature. They're a Swedish alternative metal group, and I think this is the group you were referencing a couple weeks ago when we talked about Dido, and you were like, "Man, that's not the band that's from like Iceland or something?" And I was like, "I don't know what you're talking about," but I think this is the no.
It was two chicks that were Russians, and it was a very like lesbian love affair vibe going on. I don't remember what it was, Steve. I feel like they said "this is not enough" a bunch in the song, if I'm not mistaken, if that helps out. But that might be conflating some other shit. But this looks like a crazy porno, if nothing else. This looks kind of hot. This looks pretty cool.
They're all hot, and the music is hot. It's spicy. It's muy caliente.
Really?
And like I think it was Rob Zombie who actually managed them, or he had some kind of hand in it. Because this whole album, man, it reminds you of that sect that of new metal of the 90s. And the music is good, the women are sexy, they sing melodically, you know, they do that Bone Thugs and Harmony shit. They do the harmony over some metal tunes,
Hell
and it's pretty
yeah.
dope, man. I think this album Freaks of Nature still holds up.
What was that band called? I think they were named like Kitty. There was like kind of like
Kitty,
a was that
I
they
had a
were
crush on
dope.
those chicks.
Hell
Yeah,
yeah.
they were
They had
from
like
Canada.
yeah, and they had some like they just had pretty catchy. I don't know what you would call it. I guess it was rock or something, but it was always like kind of a sexual vibe, and the hooks were always like something weird and sexual. I'm trying to look it up right now, but Kitty, dude, shout out.
Shout out to Kitty, man. And I think they would like perform in like schoolgirl uniform. They would do like that gothic shit, but it was sexy.
Yeah, Kittie if you want to look it up. And yeah, Canadian heavy metal band. There you go.
And also in 99, Alice in Chains releases Nothing Safe, Best of the Box compilation. And I bought this in the stores. And for anyone who wants to look up and have a dummy's guide how to start Alice in Chains fandom, get this. It'll take care of everything for you. It has all shit. They're right behind me.
This I definitely had this. We've. What are you gonna say about Alice in Chains that we haven't already said? But the best of, I feel like you're missing a few songs that you need to catch on to. But yeah, starter pack. Get this. Get a joint. Enjoy.
And then and then also in 1999, Weird Al Yankovic releases Running with Scissors. I fucks with Weird Al Yankovic, but honestly, Matt, I have never owned any of his albums in my possession. And that doesn't say anything about him. I think he released albums around the time when other rappers would be releasing albums, or like a rock band I really like comes out with something like a Significant Other or a Wu-Tang Forever.
Yeah, hell yeah. That's kind of crazy to think about. I never even thought of that. Like he strategically would like, oh, Coolio had that Gangster's Paradise song, Amish Paradise. Let's get this bitch out there. Um, I don't think I owned this one. I owned the one where it was like a Jurassic Park type cover with him as like the head of a T-Rex, I think, or some shit. But
Okay.
I think my thing with Weird Al that didn't carry me on. I love Weird Al. I love it all. I'm into it. UHF, I'm into it. Him in general, I'm into it. But once you buy one Weird Al album and you get the vibe, I don't feel like you really like. I wasn't chomping at the bit for another one. You get it, and then you're gonna always hear the good ones on the radio. So maybe that's what it was. What was on this though? Like,
The thing with him though that would make you want to come back is he's topical, because the songs My Baby's in Love with Eddie Vedder and the references that he has to that, and he changes genres. He'll shift genres. I believe that song is done in like a 1950s like soda pop fountain style. Pretty Fly for a Rabbi, which was the Offspring offshoot. He has a song called Jerry Springer, which is pretty good. What was the one? It's All About the Pentiums. That's the one where
yeah,
he spoofed
okay,
Puffy.
yeah, hell yeah, okay.
What you want to do? Want to be hackers, code crackers, slackers, wasting time with all the chat room yackers, 9 to 5, chilling at Hewlett Packard, something like that. The
Hell yeah.
Saga Begins, which was like a spoof of Star Wars. Pretty dope, man.
I mean, Weird Al just is like one of those like comforting things from my childhood where it's just like you're never gonna get a bad vibe from the guy. I would love to see him live to see what that is because I actually have heard he does a good live show, which I'm
Yeah.
interested in. But yeah, dude, shout out to Weird Al, dude. He made the
Dude,
accordion some fucking cool shit, so I love
I,
that.
I would totally fuck with a Weird Al show if I
Oh,
could. If he came to the area, hell yeah. I
hell
just
yeah.
also want to point out he did an offshoot of Cherry Poppin' Daddies, Zoot Suit Riot. Is it's called Grapefruit Diet, and that's actually better than the original song
Yeah.
it's spoofed.
Oh,
Um,
I hated that fucking song. Zoot Suit Riot, throw back a bottle of beer. I hated that, dude. What a fucking crock of shit that was.
Back about a little beer. Dan, dan. But yeah, man, grapefruit diet. But also in 1999, Slipknot releases their self-titled album, and damn it, Matt, I had this. And I didn't give a fuck what people thought.
I know you didn't. I see, Steve. I don't get it, Steve. I just don't. I don't. So I'm a Slipknot. I'm an
Hater,
ignoramus.
just a
I'm not a hater. I actually kind of dig like the pageantry or like the theatrics and shit. I like that, but I don't like heavy fucking like that kind of shit. It's just not my thing.
now this is my peak. This is kind of where I get off the roller coaster. Like, let me out the car, doughboy. Like,
Yeah.
this is all right. Metallica, and I feel like Slipknot is like right there at the ceiling. But man, it's not just that. You're gonna get the fast rhythmic beats, man. But also, shout out to Corey Taylor, because he's got some tracks on here, like the one I did at the beginning of the episode, "Wait and Bleed," which was the release single. Man, pretty melodic guy. He's got some chops.
And I think also from what I've like heard from the other, because I know a lot of people that do like Slipknot. I mean, it's not like I'm like probably in the minority, but they have like a collective, like the people that are their fans. It's like a community, and like these guys look crazy, but I don't like. I think these people are actually like good people and don't have like a hateful message or anything. They just like to look insane. But yeah, I mean, shout out to anybody who's willing to do a actual live show and that kind of shit. Because I can only imagine like how much weight do these fucking guys lose in a show wearing that kind of shit? Jesus fucking Christ! Have you ever seen
Sweating,
them
man.
live?
I'd love to. I'm not that big of a fan to like actually go see a ticket. Like, if a buddy had an extra ticket, like, yeah, sure, I'll go see Slipknot.
I would like anything with seeing. This is me being a pothead, Steve, but I feel like if I could get a ticket, and this is also old man, sit the whole time and just smoke on it and like people watch, I might actually even get into the music more. But it's just like heavy metal is crazy, and like I don't like a live show is not fun. But if I could be like top row, smoking a blunt with my buddies and being like, that's insane. That'd be kinda
Skybox chilling.
fun. Yeah, exactly. Keep it nice, keep it clean.
And then they also have turntables, a DJ, like on that, in the same vein of Limp Bizkit, man, which I appreciate. And Incubus too. Forgot about that, man. They do some mixing, and I think like all of that adds to it. And then the percussionist beating on the buckets and shit, man.
I mean, I know the percussionist. Like, didn't that guy have like it was like double pedal? I just remember it sounds like a machine gun.
Yeah, man, those double pedal basses. But any callbacks, honorable mentions, or takeaways, sir?
I'm just gonna like just cite myself, Steve. I talk out of my ass constantly on this show, and I'm sure people are well aware of that. You more than anybody. But
Same.
last week or one of the weeks, I think it was last week, I said Eric Lindros had his own video game. Wasn't true. Eric Lindros was a cover player on I think NHL Live.
Oh, EA Sports. Okay.
Yeah. So my apologies. There was no Eric Lindros. I remember Bill Lambier Full Contact Basketball. That was a game. I took that game and put Eric Lindros and changed the sport to hockey somehow in my pod-addled brain. So just so if anybody's looking or trying to fact check what I say, don't, please. But that was not true. So my bad. Shout out to Eric Lindros. You're still a beast, killing it, probably still, but you didn't have a video game. And that's no one's fault. That's actually the video game world's fault if you think about it.
I'm proud of you, man. Look at you, like
it's
correcting
gross.
the fact checks, man. Yeah,
Gross.
that's what we do.
Well, you were acting all positive, like the positive. You're growing, Steve. You smoked on it. You didn't go off on that gentleman or that lady that you were talking about at the beginning. So I'm trying to echo. I'm trying to mirror. I'm trying to just be the best me I can, and thank you for that. So, in that regard, do you have any, dispersions or leakage that you want to get off your chest, Steve?
I have pending warrants, but I also have the fact that in 1998, WCW Nitro, Jericho, this is at the beginning of his whole feud with Dean Malenko, which this is how I was introduced to Jericho. And he runs in on one of his matches and he said, I saw the cops backstage. I think they want to arrest you for impersonating a wrestler. Like,
dude, when he would bring the poster out with Malenko and just like put it on like a pedestal and just start shitting on it, I believe. This was him at his height, because then this begot him starting to take luchadors' masks and shit off. I mean, he was taking over, Steve. This is vintage Jericho, and this is the Jericho I love, dude. This is the best. This is fucking Lionheart, dude.
Lionheart, that's my favorite Jericho, man. And Goldberg is also turning 104-0 against Glacier. This is setting up, yeah.
Remember how they had him in like a light cone with fake snow? I mean,
snow cones, and yeah.
But shout out to Glacier in that one WCW game where he was like the secret guy you could get, because he had that sweet chin music move, and that shit was fire. I always used to love using that. Anyway, sidetracking Sally, Steve. My bad.
And Bischoff, Hogan, and DDP and Malone, they're setting up that fight for the pay-per-view. And I said this on the last episode, man, that shark is pulling up near you, Eric Bischoff. And actually, I think you leaped it, and it's circling the block. But on that same night in 98, WWF Raw is from the Gund Arena, the old Cavs home in Cleveland, Ohio. And this is starting off the angle with Val Venus, and he has a match with Dick Togo, who was one of the wrestlers in that ECW pay-per-view we covered that just blew the roof off,
okay.
Yeah.
Choppy, or pee. Okay, I don't know if I can do that, Steve.
Yeah, this is starting off that with Yamaguchi-san. That was the manager.
Honey.
And his wife, yeah, the wife is there, and he's like making the moves on her. Yeah, and she's just acting all like meek and just like, no.
I mean, this was wild times in WWE. I mean, this, I think, led to my favorite Val Venus moment, where he's in bed, sheets up to his waist, and he just goes, "Honey, did you find the remote?" And I think Vic Togo's wife comes up, says something probably in a racist Asian accent. And then, Val Venus lays some pipes, Steve. Because, I mean, is there a dark side of the ring about Val Venus? Is there any darkness to this, Steve?
Not yet, but it's scarred in our brains forever.
Yeah, hello, ladies. I mean, that's me, Steve. That's Val Venus. I'm going to do that. Live happened in the 90s. I'm going to be doing my Val Venus. So that's, come check it out.
He's wearing nothing but a towel. And this is also the day after the King of the Ring in 98, when Mankind gets thrown out the ring. Austin loses his belt because of Undertaker's interference. And, he would get the belt back on this night, on June 29th, 98, man. He would win it back in one day because Kane offers him a shot to get it back. And he basically gives everybody a stunner. And now this is basically setting up the feud for Austin and Undertaker for SummerSlam of this year.
Dead man. I mean, Austin is he's peaking at this point. This is like the tide is like complete.
Austin Mania, like we are eating out of his hand and his butthole. Pause. But we were.
We were. I mean, he took me
like how that shit tastes.
Him and DX were responsible for me. I mean, I was all in WCW. I would buy that was the pay-per-views I was buying. And then once there was a certain age, I don't know what it was or what the moment on TV was, but I flipped, and it was because of him and DX. More so DX for me, but still, it's hand in hand.
Yeah, man. But please like, share, subscribe, and comment. Tell your little sister.
She got a nice mouth, though.
No, Steve.
Yeah, check out Clark the Shark and Crushgasm every Wednesday with Kendra. And Don't Worry, B-Movie with Amanda and Wade. This is Steve G and Matt G with Happened in the 90s.
That's what it's all about. Guns and butter, baby.